Okie dokie. What a nice evening. Oh, I wish I got out here a little sooner. All right, so we wanted to do a little bit of a review on an upgrade to the Fly Products Eclipse. I am at about 500 feet above, not ground level, but above my takeoff ground level, place where I launched. I am I'm about 500 feet per minute here. No. I'm 500 feet AGL above that spot where I launched. Now I'm going to reduce throttle to where I have pretty much straight and level flight. So I'm not sure if you can see this. I'll try and get the camera down here. Alright, this is per fly sky high, but it's attached to my SkyDrop Vario. So it's getting its positioning from the Vario. It should be a bit more accurate. Alright, so right about here is where I'm at straight level flight. It's going up and down by just 10-20 feet. So that's 75-50 RPM with the 140 millimeter prop. 75, little 74. I really should be paying attention. Alright, never mind. I think that seems like about the same thrust level, possibly. I'm not sure if that's possible. Swinging a, 10 centimeter larger prop. But there you go. I'll have to do some more tests. Not sure that I like that result, but there you go. I mean, don't have much of a headwind. It's not choppy air tonight. Rather nice and smooth. I'm really enjoying it. I just wish I got out a little earlier, but no complaints other than that. And so I bought this new prop, larger prop, and a hoop upgrade, and the frame upgrade that was required with it. And what I was hoping to do was get a little bit better fuel mileage, if it's even possible with the Atom 80, and possibly extend my fuel usage and have a little less stressful flights. I've taken lots of long flights lately, which I really, really like, and I get to explore the Texas countryside, the hill country. A lot of fun. And of course, getting home, I always fly out into the wind and then back with the wind, and for the most part that works out, except when the wind changes, of course, and that's something you can usually plan for. Not always, but anyway, that that methodology, if you will, kind of takes the stress out of the flight, a longer flight especially. But I carrying upwards of 5 liters on my flights, so I have enough to be up here for an hour and a half without too much stress at all. And when I get back, I'll have at least a liter of fuel left, and that allows me to do pretty much as many go-arounds as I want to if I don't like conditions when I'm landing. And of course, in the evening, the conditions tend to settle down, so it tends to get better. And then in the morning, it's just the opposite. As the sun warms the earth, things can change. They can get a little more choppy. Not impossible, but just as a general rule, I figured that that's what happens, morning and evening. So I'm cruising along here now. I'm still gaining. I'm at 8,000 RPM and at 150 to 200 feet per minute indicated. One of the things I really like, we're coming up on the Pedernales River. The Pedernales joins the Colorado right over here to our left. And right now the Pedernales has quite a bit of water in it from what I can see here, at least this far up the river. Usually of late, because we've been in a drought for, I don't know, a couple years, it's been like a trickle or sometimes absolutely dry on the surface. But anyway, I really like coming down here, and we'll do it tonight too. We're going over this nice group of people out there camping, actually living in this little trailer park. Anyway, I typically fly out here and fly to Pedernales, and it's a lot of fun. The big birds that are making a living down by the river here, they jump up in the air and they fly along with me for quite a while. It's really interesting. They really are doing that. It's not like they're getting away from me. They'll fly along until they're tired, and then they'll veer off gently and alight in a tree somewhere. So it's pretty cool. And of late, little birds have joined the big birds in doing that. I've not experienced that before, and it's pretty cool. So here we are. We're giving up some altitude to get down on the deck in the Pedernales here, but it's fun to just kind of cruise along. And down in here, down in the next to the close to the river, you have fairly much sheltered space, so you can see the cliffs on the side of the river pretty high. So if the winds are 6 miles an hour or less, usually very calm down in here, and you can just kind of float along. And again, this is the one I call Fly the Pedernales. Let's get down on the deck here. What a nice evening. Got a sunset sort of occurring over there. It's right around, it's 10 of 5 right now. I think sunset's 5:30 this time of year. So days are obviously shorter everywhere, right? And so we kind of have to deal with that. It's more difficult to get out and get a flight before work, but not impossible. And same thing after work. If I can get out a little early, works pretty well. All right, so this is I don't really like going too much lower than this. This is already risky enough, if you will, and there's a little bit of bumps there, so we'll just try a little bit of it just to kind of get you a taste of what it's like flying the Pedernales. Now, one thing I have learned, pretty much as soon as you move to Texas and you start driving around or flying around your Paramotor, there are power lines everywhere. Texans love their power lines. And so it's especially important to keep an eye out for those when you're flying these rivers, especially if you haven't flown them before. And even ones I've flown before, if I don't do it in a while, I try to stay really careful, be watching out for that. Because you don't want to come around a corner and see a power line right across the area that you're flying through. Pretty dangerous. It essentially turns your nice little flight into a box canyon, and not healthy. What a nice evening. All right, so I'm flying into the sun now. Of course, that's affecting my eyesight. Gonna get up a little higher. Ooh, that's my climb right here on this new prop. 400, 430, 300, 450, 300. So it fluctuates a little bit, and part of it's the accuracy of the setup here. 330, 360. You know, for an Atom 80, that's not bad. I'm at 190 pounds now, 190. So that's not too shabby. All right, we'll kind of back off a little bit. I have a friend up here who, I think it's right here. Yeah, it is. Who flies a STOL plane, short takeoff and landing. And he has a field here right next to his house. I kind of have an open invitation to drop in. I'm not going to do it tonight, but thought I'd at least do a flyover and give you a look at the place. Kind of cool. He lives here with his mom, who's in her 90s, and she's out taking a walk in the morning air. And when I'm out this way, I try to fly over and wave hello to her. She really likes that. And so he also has some cows. I don't like to get too close. I like to find out where they are. I think they're right in front of me, a little bit to the right. I do not like to bother animals, especially livestock. Let's see. I'm not sure that that's them. Oh well. I don't know what that sound was. That's interesting. So let's see, right down here, I think we're flying right over his landing. Here it is, right here. That's it, right there. And his airplane takes off and lands in that distance. That's kind of cool. All right, let's get back to the river. Gotta be watching the time here and the sun. I want to make sure I get back in time. What a nice evening. I am really kicking myself for not getting out earlier now. All right. There's all sorts of stuff you can see when you fly out here in the hill country. A lot of really nice houses. They all seem to have beautiful pools and decks and porches. Nobody uses them. It's amazing to me. I would kill for a nice porch to have coffee in the morning with Dina, but guess it'll have to be a living room for now. Anyway, not complaining. Not complaining. This air is so buttery smooth. All right. So here we go. We're coming back down into the Pedernales. Pedernales is a Spanish word for flint rock. Flint rock. And as a boy growing up in New Hampshire, spending most of my life in New Hampshire actually, finding flint was just the coolest thing. But here it's everywhere. Different. All right, so you can see here the river, just a shadow of what it is a little bit further downstream, but at least there's some water in it. It's moving, I guess. Wow. Yeah, I have just a little under 5 liters now, flying for 15 minutes. Here in Texas, Central Texas, deer everywhere. Herds of attack deer. There's one right there. They're not too interested in my paramotor. They never are. Definitely not future pilots. Okay, so we're cruising along at about 7,700 RPM. We are climbing. let's back off. So it looks like 74, 75, which is pretty consistent with my with my straight level flight RPMs with Adam 80 and 130 centimeter prop. Some more deer. Oh dear. Oh dear. And we must have a little bit of a headwind. We're cruising along at 24.5 miles an hour. This wing, which is an Ozone Speedster 3, 24 meter, at trims, I'll call it neutral. That term seems to be different for different manufacturers, but essentially they're at the center line, and on this there are two green lines in the center of the trim range, and I am in the center of those two green lines. I launch and I cruise at that setting and feel very comfortable doing so. The wing stays inflated, never had a collapse with it that I'm aware of anyway. And there's a big wing bird right there. When I land, I typically pull the trims in. I like to have a slower landing. I'm not ashamed of that. There you go. See, what did I tell you? No, I can't do this for long. I gotta watch where I'm going. Like I said, the birds, they like to fly along with this paramotor. Go figure. Man, it's a lot of fun. I don't know how many times I've made this flight. I still really like it. And having this nice air just makes it so much better. Now, I don't know if we're going to get that far tonight. I really should be heading back. But around the corner is one set of power lines. You can kind of see them up there. And then a little further to the right there, and you can see the highway up above. I think it's not the highway. Anyway, over to the right a bit is Route 71. And so usually climb up over that. Let's get some altitude here. Woo-hoo! I usually climb up over that and then go down the other side, continue on the Pedernales trip. And then eventually the Pedernales gives way to, there's no safe place to land. You can see there's a lot of out area here, but further upstream it closes in, and it's really, I don't feel comfortable up there now. So I get up and out and I fly back at altitude to my launching point. Alright. So we got 301 degrees Fahrenheit. We're at max throttle, which is 9230, right around that right now. We'll back off a little bit. I don't like to go too much farther over 300 or so RPM, 300 Fahrenheit for temperature. Coming about, watch the boom. As my dad used to say. Nice evening. Alright, we'll leave it at about 8,000 RPM and we'll climb a bit. 292 Fahrenheit. Let's see what the temperature is here right now. So it's, I think, the 2nd or the 3rd of December. And I'm flying here in the evening at 59 degrees at about 300 feet above ground level. AGL from my launch site again. That's 1,046 above sea level, VMSL. There's a longhorn skier down there, a couple of them. Man, those are just such beautiful creatures. I hope you're liking this fly along. If I get some decent response on YouTube, we'll do some more, a little more exploring. There's a certain celebrity site that I went and found on Google. I did some research, found out what the place looked like from the air, and then I went and looked and found it on Google Earth, and then plotted that back to my LZ here in Spicewood, Texas, and did that for a little adventure. It was only about an hour round trip or so, which kind of surprised me. I knew the guy lived here, but wasn't sure just how close. But it was pretty fun. And I'll do that. I'll sit at home and I'll look at Google Earth or Google Maps, go out in different directions depending upon the wind direction for the day, and I will plan to do something. There are things I see from the road that I want to explore in more detail, and man, Paramotor is just a perfect way to do that. So simple, and this engine has been so amazingly dependable. You know, I do the maintenance, right? Whenever something even smells like it's going to be replaceable, I'll replace it. I do a lot of maintenance on this to keep it in good working order. The only engine outs that I have experienced were from low idle, where the engine just quit after so many minutes of low idle, and that's just a tuning thing. And with these little engines, you kind of have to think about that all the time. The weather changes, different parts of the year, the different seasons, more humidity, less humidity, greater temperatures, lower temperatures. These little engines, they do, and the carburetors, which are nothing more than glorified chainsaw engines, that have been souped up, don't forget that. They've been reamed out and all sorts of things done to them to get more performance out of these tiny little lightweight engines. But they respond to those changes, and you need to anticipate that in order to have an engine that is dependable. I love working on this engine and the Paramotor. I've been working on motorcycles, my own motorcycle, since I was a teenager. And when I was a teenager, I didn't have the money for it, so I had to do it myself. And then when I got older, I had the money for the maintenance and stuff, but I had my first Harley. I took it to the dealership, and somebody dropped a wrench on the primary, dented the chrome. Nobody said a thing to me, and I thought, that's not going to be what I want to do going forward. So I started investing in tools and learning to do things on my own, bought manuals. But this is my first two-cycle engine. I've had an Adam 80 for about, as long as I've been flying, for about over 4 years. This Adam 80 is new, and I bought it because my original MY19 developed what I diagnosed as a leak in the crankcase, which makes the engine run lean. And that explained all the problems I was having. I did all sorts of other things to try and address it. And finally, the trick is with a four-cycle engine, you take some engine starter, and with the engine running, you spray it at different locations. And if the engine starts to race, you know that there's a leak in that location, and you go back and you fix it. Well, with these engines, of course, the fuel and air are mixed in the carburetor venturi. It travels through the butterfly valve into the crankcase, and then it's sucked into the cylinder when the we'll call them valves are open on the side of the engine. When the piston moves up and down, creates a vacuum in the cylinder, and it moves past the opening, which goes down to the crankcase, and a charge of fuel mixture is brought into the cylinder, and it fires, and away you go round and round and round. But anyway, so in a two-cycle engine, when you spray something like like carb cleaning fluid around the seam of the crankcase in this particular engine, if the engine goes down in RPMs, it's an indication of a leak there, because you're introducing more fuel into the mixture, which is already in the crankcase. So that was how I was able to determine I had a leak in my crankcase. So long story short, this is why I got the other engine. Not that I can't fix the other one, I intend to, but I want to be able to have all the time in the world to do that, and I don't want to interrupt my flying. So I'll be able to do that with this other engine. And oh, by the way, at this point I have enough parts. I have two separate frames now. I have the original, I have a replacement for it, I have a replacement set of replacement hoop, and all sorts of other parts. So I can take that other one apart and fix all the problems, put it all back together, mount it to the frame, put a hoop on it, add a throttle. I have a separate throttle. Essentially have another paramotor, which is why, or how I should say, I was able to actually justify in the end buying a second engine. But this MY22, you know, essentially all of the upgrades that I've been making to the MY19 are already on this MY22. It all works together. I've been very pleased with it. I haven't had to touch a whole lot yet. Of course, it is brand new. Let's see how many hours it has on it here. 13 hours. So it's brand new. It's barely broken in, I guess. But I really like it. It idles well. It spins up nicely. It has, again, I'm 190 pounds, and it moves me right along, gets me up in the air, gets the altitude fairly quickly. So I'm very pleased with it. I did at one point consider getting a different engine. I thought about going up just a little bit to like the EOS 100. So I'll get 100 cc's, a little more thrust. But I looked at the fuel burn. It was not as good, right? It wouldn't be. I looked at some other factors, and it's heavier. No, it isn't heavier. I think it is actually slightly lighter than the Atom 80. But whatever. It just didn't have enough going for it to make the switch. The other one too is parts, availability of parts. I buy all my parts from USA Sky Sports USA, sorry. And they're great people to work with. They're very fast. They're New Hampshire boys, so I appreciate that. And had a really great experiences working with them and buying all my Atom 80 parts from them. So again, if I go to a different motor manufacturer, I'll have to establish that all over again. I have so many spare parts for this Atom 80 that I don't want to give that up either. So essentially that's why I'm sticking with it. The Moster, it's very impressive, I have to admit it. I've seen people take off and in all sorts of configuration with all sorts of things that I probably would have fixed but would never do or never think of doing with an Atom 80, that the Moster, the power just seems to make up for a lot of that. And so it seems to me, I'm not positive, it seems to me that people rely on that power to get them out of situations or keep them out of situations. And with the Atom 80, it's more like, you know, you got to stay out of that situation. You have to think about that ahead of time. You have to be more careful. Buzz these campers a little bit here. I don't get too close, but they do like to see it. And who could blame them? They're camping after all. Oops, see, they're waving. Like I mentioned, we've been in a drought period for several years, and the LCRA, the Lower Colorado River Association, maintains campgrounds up and down the Colorado River, and this is one that I fly from here. And when we moved here, my wife and I, the first thing I did was scouted out LZs, right? And this looked like a great location. The water was up quite a bit further than it is now, but it was enough to give me a way to launch and land. So I went and introduced myself to the host and made sure I got permission to fly here, and I've been flying at these locations. There's another one also 4 miles away from my house that I fly from. And so I know the hosts in both locations. I thank them by sending them some citrus stuff every year, Christmas time. You know, maintain a good, hey guys, maintain good relationship, be friendly. They're very friendly and very welcoming. So I do appreciate being able to have a place to fly. Alright, so winds were supposedly from the west. I have a couple of choices here, but it's almost dead, so I think I'm going to take advantage of the nicer grass up above. Yeah, it's dead. Alright, winds are supposed to be from the north. I'm flying north now. Let's take another look at this. Yeah, I'll just come in the way I landed. Okay, that should work. Alright, sun's not quite down yet. There's no wind, so even better if I trim in for this landing. If I get 6 or 8 miles an hour, I won't bother. I don't have that tonight. We could stay up a little longer. I'm in 35 minutes in the air, give or take. All right, I'm with the trims in. We can drop the RPMs down to a little over 7,000 RPM, and we're maintaining altitude and climbing through to 72, 71. That's good. So there you go. And so with the Atom 80, 7,100 RPM, man, that's just sipping fuel. I might have to land and drain off some of this extra fuel, give it to the Moster boys. You know, I meant to do some big ears practice this evening. I thought about it. If the weather was good, I was going to do that. But I just thought about it again at the end of my flight, unfortunately. I don't want to mess around with something unless I can pay attention. What a nice evening. Oh, this is so cool. Let's see what the temperature is down here. 59 still. That's pretty steady. Floaty, floaty with the trims in on this wing. What a terrific wing. Ooh. You know, it's interesting with ozone. They seem to come out with a spider Spider and the Speedster. No, the Spider and the Roadster, the Scirocco and the Speedster, and about the same time. And when they do, everybody seems to go for the one with the sexier name, the lighter fabric. I don't feel like I have a choice, actually. The ground here in Texas, pretty rugged, but it's just a hard landscape, rough environment. I don't think I would, I mean, it's as cool as it would be to have the wing launch a tiny bit easier, come up a tiny bit quicker. It's not worth the potentially shorter life. All right. 5,900 RPM, got a nice little glide here. A nice quiet little animating, not bothering anybody. Yeah, it looks like the wind the same direction. Nice gentle, maybe a mile and a half per hour. Yeah, I can crosswind that, no problem. Plenty of fuel for it, but it's not going to be an hour ride here tonight. Not too bad. Does look good. Everything else looks good. What a great wing. Doesn't really oscillate at all, not too much. It's a good step up from a B wing. It's been great. All right, let's get this lined up here. To the right of the car is a little too close to the trees, so go to the left of the car a little bit. There we go. I think I'm going to get my wing, maybe not. There we go. What a nice flight. Hope you enjoyed it. Talk to you soon.